what you'll do is call in, you talk, and I'll simply translate the questions to Dr. Fuller. And he'll just speak right into the microphone and into the speaker. All right? Okay. So, Dr. Fuller, I have on the phone now Jack Parham. Jack Parham is now sitting in the Irvine Unified School District office. Jack, you have a question for Dr. Fuller. All right, fine. Yes. Okay. Okay, Dr. Fuller, Stan Corey is the other person on the other end of the line, and he's asking you to comment on your article that appeared in the U.S. World News Report last December on education and satellites. Do you recall that article?
Yes,
Could you speak to that?
what I was undertaking to clear with the U.S. News and World Report when they inquired of me was when I see as the coming world government and what we'll have for the first time in all history a true democracy and a direct democracy. With the Russian and United States development of satellites and the sensors, very delicate sensors, which, for instance, at 100 miles out, a satellite sensor can distinguish between a goat and a sheep. And these sensors are so delicate, they are going to be able to pick up, and with the satellites going around our Earth, fundamental information. For instance, today there's a program coming from one of those sensors, satellites, telling you where every beef cattle on Earth is. That's right in this room right now, if you have the right tuning device to give you that information. So that, but we now have also learned that each human being gives off electromagnetic wave field. We learned to start off with after World War I with putting the equipment on the heads of veterans, and hospitals were glad to do it, that the human brain gave off energy. And then they next discovered that dreams gave off special patterns that would show on the instrument. Now we know that we have this electromagnetic field that is given off, and the electromagnetic field tells whether the human being is feeling positive or negative regarding some proposition. Something is being pushed on the life of that human being. They realize it's going to affect their life. They feel positive or negative about it. It's going to be possible then with the satellites and with the general broadcasting and television system of the world to give human beings propositions of this is what we're going to do about this or that, exactly as we have political committees in various governments going into various inquiries, making the question very prominent to all of humanity, and then resolving to do so-and-so about it. You will then immediately have, from all around the world, electromagnetic field reading to tell you what the majority feels about that, positive or negative. Now, the majority can easily be wrong, make a bad decision, but the point is that the world will know that the majority want to try it this way. So then we'll, quite probably, everybody goes along with this, and we'll have then what equivalent to what we call city management, not a political government, but a management group who are instructed to do exactly what the majority says they must do. Then we'll find majority discovers it's made a bad decision, discovers that the ship is headed for the rocks. This being clear to everybody, they immediately change their minds. Therefore, we'll have a reversal of course. We don't have scapegoating of various politicians, but simply a redirection. Then society will gradually learn to make less and less mistakes, make better judgments, because they'll be thinking in the terms of the whole rather than their own local survivals and so forth. So we find that all steering mechanisms operate in this way. This is what Norbert Wiener was talking about in cybernetics, or what we call feedback systems. All of our steering mechanisms of ships at sea or sky operate in the terms of making an error and correcting then the correction, you always overcorrect a little. And therefore you gradually get back between the two errors and corrections. You gradually get a little closer to a straight line, but physics finds no straight lines. It has only waves. All of the universe is operating in this wave basis. So you cut down the amount of error. So I simply see then a society which the majority will make some very bad mistakes at the outset. They'll make less and less mistakes, and from time to time they'll make some big ones. But they're able to correct just overnight, instantly, by virtue of the feedback always being taken in by the satellites, by the sensors. So this way, what we see is the new coming way of world government.
Okay. Yes. Okay. Dr. Fuller, Stan Corey is asking, what do you feel about the idea we had discussed earlier today about the learner or the child having some control over his learning process and contributing to the information? What do you feel about this kind of idea in education?
It is perfectly clear to me that the only control over the learning process has always been the little individual. Exactly then, does it get a diet that it likes, the appetite can take on? Because the child is going, we are designed so much more capably than our school systems. The incredible scheduling of our chromosomic drives, we're programmed in a very extraordinary way, each one of us a little bit differently. Certain kinds of information we take really quite clearly. We get our first information by touch, because we're inside the womb in touch with our mother for months before we come outside. So touch is the absolute number one way of checking and getting basic information. Next, we begin to use the olfactory to smell for the udder, to go after the milk. Then comes in later the hearing, and very much later still the sight. That's very standard for all the children. But from there on, we're all being born naked, helpless, ignorant, beautiful equipment, but no experience. We have to, but also we're given hunger, thirst, procreative urge, in due course, curiosity, drives to demonstrate competence, so that we find that young life scheduling its own education. And all the many things that children do that have not been understood. Parents don't understand why children push their knife or fork to the edge of the table and it falls to the floor and it gets picked up again, and they do it time and again. The fact is then that as the law of gravity operates, every time we double the distance apart between two bodies in the universe, we decrease the interactiveness to 1/4 what it was. So that we find that the further you go out, we just have to get a satellite out 100 miles from our surface of our planet Earth to stay in orbit before it doesn't want to fall back in. In the terms of where there are masses in the universe which things will be attracted and powerfully, and in relation to all space, at 99.99999% of the universe, when you're in there, if you put a spoon in this position and just stay in that position, it'd be in the same acceleration you are around some other body. It would be in orbit with you. And so you put the spoon here, it just stays there in space as the astronaut finds it going on. Then, so that for the child to discover that a spoon wants to go towards the floor is such an exception in all space that the child is demonstrating really cosmic normalcy and finds it an unusual matter that the spoon goes in this direction. So the little child begins to discover gravity, and he discovers that every time trying to stand up, it gets pulled down, bumped to the ground. Long before it has the word gravity, it has discovered gravity, and uses it in every kind of a way to help it get off the bed. They find that gravity can act as friction to make them lie on the flat in the bed, so gravity can be the brake, so gravity can be the accelerator. Long before they ever heard the word gravity, they may have never heard it. They're always educating themselves. Then they learn, try to tear things apart. The reason they try to tear things apart, what can they hold on to when gravity is pulling? Because they learn that higher they go, the more it hurts their legs when they land. So what can you hold on to that won't tear when gravity is pulling you? So that's why they tear things. they're beautiful research departments, and grown-ups don't realize what incredible research departments they are. So I have somebody say that if you give the child the chance to really select the information it needs, is going to educate itself very much more rapidly and very much better than any school system has ever been devised.
Got that? All right, repeat that once again. I was still digesting the previous. Mm-hmm. Okay. Yes. Right. Okay. Stan Corey is asking, based on your assessment of formal education, where the child becomes a victim, rather than having some control over his or her learning process. What do you feel about the idea that, in fact, we discussed with you, of interactive video access, where children can, through either cable or through television or technology, have access and have control of their learning?
I think that this is very much in the evolutionary trend, but universe is trying very hard to make human beings a success. And gradually we begin to discover principles such as the principle just of the electron, which is discovered when I was 3 years of age. And we begin to learn how to use that electron. Then we learn about bouncing, we learn about how things reflect. We learn then that we really can bounce message off the moon, then we can get our own little satellites to bounce things off of. Anyway, it's now highly feasible to make available for every child the best information possible discovered by any human being so far regarding answer to any question they may have. Just as they can look through the dictionary, and they do, and they see some pictures and they stop there, get an encyclopedia and get many more pictures and so forth. We're going to be able to get up an encyclopedia where the child can say, I want that real information, and they can then get the video cassette relayed to them by satellite from anywhere around the world. We will have world computer inter hookup, and we'll be able to search instantly and bring up the right video program of the latest information on that subject by the greatest expert on that subject, all done in beautiful visual presentation so the child can personally understand exactly what the results are. I find the little child learning that it can then slip off of the bed. As it gets off the bed, it goes vertical. And when it lies flat, it's horizontal. And the gravity holds it as brakes when it's horizontal, and the gravity accelerates when they're vertical. The little child then sees the banisters in a house, a 2-story house, leaning at an angle about halfway between brakes and acceleration. So they instinctively get on the banisters and slide down and use gravity. They can then dare to go coasting and to ski when they see that as long as the bottom turns out horizontal, they'll do it. They will not go over a cliff when they don't see any horizontal at the bottom. They realize that the further that horizontal is, that they know that an angle gives them control. So that we call angular valving of gravity. So the little child who's never been out of the city can look at a TV program of the Olympic skiing in Hokkaido in Japan and understand that kind of an angular acceleration of gravity. So we find that the little child, if you get the right case set, they'll continually extend their sense of principles such as gravity, even though they don't know the word gravity yet. They'll picture exactly what that is they want to get. So that I have very high hopes that through the video cassette and the satellite relaying, we're really going to get an educational system going where then a great world democracy can have wise decisions to be made regarding various propositions about how to use our total resources of total Earth and the total knowledge of total humanity to the advantage of all humans to try to make our single little spaceship Earth work.
Yes. Yeah, we have another...
14 minutes to 25 seconds.
You still have 5 minutes on that tape. Yeah. He's got... Well, wait a minute. Dr. Fuller is showing me his little Casio timer.
We've been going exactly 15 minutes then.
15 minutes. He's showing me that. You'll see it on the tape.
14:44.
Okay, go ahead. All right. I got two. Right. Okay, there are two questions that Stan is asking. One question is with more and more technology and video access, what does that have? What implication does it have to culture or the cultural understanding of people and children? And secondly, if children begin to, or people begin to have responsibility and control over their learning, what's going to happen in terms of the custodial responsibility of the schools? In other words, today a great many parents depend on the schools to have custody of their children during the daylight hours. What will happen in this new world of video access where people have control over their own learning?
We've got to get over altogether the difference between babysitting so the parents can do something else and the idea of a school. So there's also a beautiful social experience. And social experience is fine at school, where you learn to get on with other kids. But what we call really child learning is done absolutely by that individual, and all alone. They do their very best in exploring out in the woods all by themselves or in their room all by themselves. Every little child glues onto the television. And the parents say, we don't know what to do about it. Well, the point is that the parents are really almost voiceless today, and junk keeps continually coming over that television to the kids. But the point is they glue on. And the minute you let them have the information they want, where they can really dial for the information they want coming over the television, they're going to do that there on their own. So we have to give up the idea of using television and how do you make money. We're going to have to say, how do you make sense? How do we really, are we going to stay on our planet? And we're not going to stay on this planet. If we just want to make money, just want to do things selfishly, locally, we're all through. It has to go to be everybody and nobody. So this medium is going to have to be freed up. But the point is the kids are already making the connection. So if you want to have babysitting, all right, let the kids come to a place where they have a nice social experience, but let them have the television right there. You don't have to have any teachers and kids, but let the right program come over those televisions. Then the kids are just going to freeze onto themselves, and particularly when they can dial, and one is interested in the skiing, and one of them is interested in sailplaning, and another one is interested in how the little seed opens up, and another one's interested in how a caterpillar turns into a butterfly, and so forth. All those things they'll be able to get independently, not each having to listen to something they're not interested in when they're not interested. You can't do any group teaching. Learning has to be done entirely by that individual, and to say the social experience and the babysitting must consider absolutely separate functions.
Yes.